Hello, friends.
Is it friends?
Yes, it's my friends. Hello, friends. ByeByeWorldx. So, 10 years ago, I had the pleasure of waking up. 10 years ago, people talking about the stuff that's happening right now was absurd and insane to the point where people want to say you are mentally ill.
Stay there, won't you, sweet?
I woke up about 10 years ago. At that time, I was quite heavily involved in my religion. I was, I don't know, did I go? I think it's at around the time that I kind of shied away from church. Yeah, it was during that time I started kind of shying away from going to church. That's another video. I'll talk about that later. I'm not saying turn your back on the church or anything, don't worry. But what I am saying is that's where I was. And I remember I was working at Google and sitting at my station for 8 hours a day with earphones on. You run out of things to listen to. And nowadays, I am so happy to see a huge amount of people with their minds blown open, wide open. People are seeing exactly what was being told for years. So many people can see it. Even if they don't see the depth of it, they're able to see the tip of the iceberg just because of what's happening in the past 2 years. And that's major. That's important. And I recall when I woke up, realizing the depths of the real problem. It was very easy to be sucked into depression. Just realizing our powerlessness. I mean, it's not that you're powerless, it's simply that you see what your enemy truly is. But we all have the power. We just have to find it. We just have to look. We just have to know what that power is, and then we can win. We can fight against that kind of evil. We already have it. It's within us. It's just a matter of realizing there's an enemy. And they've done a very good job of making sure most people don't know that there is a massive enemy. And it's not limited to the government. As much as one would like to believe that it's countries and states, as much as one would like to believe it's only limited to their government, the reality, especially right now that's been exposed, is this is across the entire globe. It's not limited to America. Watch their actions. Pay attention to how they sing the same tune. Like when you start to hear the words and what the media is saying, and think of it like a song or a tune. And you realize, wait a second, all of these politicians and world leaders are singing the same tune. That doesn't happen when they are not working together. That does not happen. And I won't say all the world leaders are singing this tune. A good amount of them are singing the same tune to where we should be concerned. So, waking up is hard to do. I'd like to offer some support. Like I said, when I woke up, it was so easy to fall into depression and feeling hopeless and purposeless and meaningless when you realize what you're up against. When you realize the type of evil that really exists out there. I remember feeling like that, and it's like through the soul searching, like I started meditating and just digging really deep into who I was and what I am. I listened at the time to a lot of David Icke. I like him. I really do like him. I don't care what people say. As soon as I saw his first interview on that talk show, after people are saying, oh, he claimed to be the Son of God, and then when you actually watch it and hear what he says in that interview, he doesn't say that at all. They've twisted it to make him look crazy, right off, and that's what they do. They still do it today. That's what the media does. So while I may not agree or understand some things that he says, I think this is a person who has a lot to say that people should listen to. I think this is a person who has a lot to say. And he has a perspective on things that is worth considering. So at that time, I was waking up, I listened to The Lion Sleeps No More, and that's several hours long lecture. I'll link it in the description if you want to look. But just realizing who you are in the planet, in the world, spiritually. I started, getting into just meditating and just being with myself. I didn't follow any protocol. It was simply shutting off all of the conditioning and manipulation that surrounds my soul for the past, how old was I, 25 years or so. Just disconnecting from that. That was my meditation. Disconnecting and being with myself through meditation. And as I pick apart all of this confusion and, remove the onion skins and peeling the banana to find myself, my real self, I realize something. Love is very important. My stomach is growling. In all of this, the only solution that I can see is to learn to love. I'm not talking about sunshine and rainbows. I mean love in the form of truth. The most honest truth would be love. To learn to look at someone else who may be making a bad choice and understand why. It doesn't excuse what they've done, but to be able to empathize, we're in the same situation. I understand why you feel that you can flip me off while we're driving on the highway. I've done it too, so I can't say I haven't done that. But, not recently. But just an amount of empathy to learn that someone else might just be at a different level of understanding than you. You don't realize there's a monster and then hate everyone who has become a victim of that monster. You may not agree with the liquid lottery, and you may not want it forced on you. But at the end of the day, people are free to choose based on their own experience. So when you wake up and you see something is not right with the liquid lottery, you don't turn around and attack the people who are taking it. Sure, they are part of the problem in a sense because they encourage the government to continue doing that. But you have to understand that they are acting based on their own level of understanding. You can't just say, don't take it, it's bad. Someone who's not understanding that or ready to hear it will not listen to you. So, you really can't want freedom for yourself and then want to take that freedom away from other people. When you wake up, it doesn't mean that you get to control others. That's not the point. For example, another example is the abortion thing. Would I get an abortion? No. The reason why I wouldn't get an abortion is because, from my understanding, your DNA is the first thing that's created when conception happens, your own unique DNA. And through my own meditation and studying and learning and understanding, I personally believe that your DNA is your soul. It's your information packet passed down from your ancestors, your great-great-grandparents, to your great-grandparents, to your grandparents, to your parents, to you. And it has data, it has information. I believe that is sacred. I don't believe that is something I don't believe it's something that shouldn't be appreciated to some degree. I understand people getting pregnant and not feeling that they can take care of a baby. You know, it's not easy. It isn't an easy place to be. And imagine how many kids, if they were forced to actually have them, would be on the street or in the system because how many more kids actually would be in the system because their parents were not able to provide, and the suffering those children would experience. Now, I'm not saying that's grounds for making that decision. I'm simply saying I can understand why people make that decision. Though I myself wouldn't make it, based on my understanding, it is not for me to take that away from someone else. Do you get what I'm saying? No matter what I believe, it's not okay to force that on someone else. I know that's hard to hear, especially if you have like sincere values about the topic, etc. But I can't expect myself to be clear of being forced to take the liquid lottery and fight for that freedom while I turn around and try to control someone else's freedom. At the end of the day, they are responsible. They are responsible for the choice they make. That is not my responsibility. If someone decides to go out and have an abortion, it's their choice. I cannot control that. And I think a lot of people need to realize you can't fight for freedom and then try to take someone else's freedom because it doesn't suit your values. It's sad. But unfortunately, you can't make the world better by controlling others. And also, I think there are bigger problems that lead to situations where abortion needs to be considered in general. So, I mean, there are bigger problems. Anyway, I don't want to go off topic here. Waking up. Yeah, the aspect of waking up. You can't wake up and then turn around and say everyone is stupid because you're finally able to see something. You know, you have to understand that people are at different levels of understanding, and some people are still very fast asleep. So saying what you say to them looks like foreign language. It looks like stupidity. It looks like mental illness. Just like how you can look at them and think they are mentally ill for not seeing what you see. So yeah, did you fart? It stinks really bad. Ugh. So another thing that happens when you wake up, and this is super important, when your mind gets blown open, you will become susceptible to falling into many pitfalls. I watched it over and over again. You know, even people I love that wake up and suddenly they're being fed all this information that's just not right. There are crazies along every step of the way. When you wake up and you start going down a road, you're going to have beasts popping out from behind every bush trying to steer you in a certain direction. That is basically putting you back to sleep. It is so important to learn to discern the truth from a lie. When you learn to see it, when you learn to be able to see through and follow those patterns with your mind and your eyes, it becomes more clear who is telling the truth and who is deceiving. I don't like deception. I really don't like deception. It's a very big pet peeve of mine. I'm sensitive to it. Maybe overly sensitive to it. I don't like deceit. When I read it in people's body language and behavior, even if you watch the news, and this is another video topic that I have, when you watch the news, they read. They're not even talking to you. When your government wants to talk to you, they're reading something. Why? As soon as someone's eyes lock into dead space and they're just like, blah, 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 I can't. It's the stupidest thing. I don't understand how it's okay for people to get information from these sources that are just staring at them and talking like robots. To me, that is a breeding ground for deception. If they can't speak to me from their own mind and their own heart, I don't want to hear what they have to say. I have a very hard time with that. That's just me. A breeding ground for deception. As soon as someone clicks into that media, spaced out eyes mode, like, I know I'm going to be lied to. Instantly, I know I'm going to be lied to. So, nowadays, we have something called QAnon. What's our nickname for that? Let's call them Queebies. Now we have the Queebies. You need to be careful when you are waking up. So many people who have woken up in this past 2 years have gone down the Queebies rabbit hole. I never once felt that Queebies was a valid source of information or a valid movement in general. The reason being, when you start to understand what the media is and who controls it and what they use it for and the patterns, you will question everything that shows up on the media. So keep in mind, people have been waking up for a very long time, even before the past 5 or so years, even before Trump. People have been waking up. And none of them were on the media getting interviewed. QAnon suddenly shows up, is suddenly being interviewed on the media, suddenly has a voice, suddenly is being heard. It's a controlled opposition. It's a controlled, because people are bound to wake up right now for reals. They had to create QAnon to steer them in the wrong direction and also to deceive those who still believe the illusion. So when those who still believe the illusion are seeing, I keep saying it, Queebies, frick. Queebies. Those who still believe the illusion, when they see the Queebies on the news, they are able to register in their mind anyone who thinks what the Queebies are saying is crazy. Anyone who is actually awake and is aware of the pedophilia going on in the high places is going to be considered a Queebies tard. Because that's what they've been shown. This is the model for a crazy person. This is what the crazy people think. Beware of the crazy people. So when anyone opens their mouth and says they're using the liquid lottery to thin the population, to bring in law that will give them more control, anyone who comes in and says the pedophilias are happening will be immediately shut down by anyone who's still stuck in the illusion. Because they've been shown that model through this QAnon nonsense, Queebies. What the Queebies does is it reveals some truth. Because there are some things that they simply cannot hide right now. Such as the pedophilias. That is a good example. They can't hide that for much longer. So what they do with the Queebies is expose themselves, but then also follow that up with a bunch of crazy nonsense. It makes the entire thing look crazy. So in a sense, the elite, when I say elite, it's not with an E. I don't call them that anymore. Sick. The elite are able to further control those who are still in the illusion. And unfortunately, it allows them to control people who are actually on the road to waking up and making those discoveries. Because it leads them down a road of deceit. QAnon, Queebies is a farce. Do not for 1 second think that anyone is going to tell the real truth and get actual media attention. That doesn't happen. The only time that happens is when someone is going to be discredited or told they're crazy or have their career tarnished by the elite. So yeah, what I'm saying is be careful. Don't be too quick. Another red flag for me is when people start trying to say exactly what's happening in the White House. Like, oh, today this is going to happen, and then in 2 weeks this is going to happen, and then Sergeant General blah, blah, blah says this is going to happen on this date. You know, that is a red flag. People who claim to know all the behind the scenes, that is a pitfall of people who are waking up. Don't ever cling to one source. You cannot just cling to one source. Be skeptical of everything. Think with your own mind, follow your heart. The more you start to follow your heart, the louder it gets. Soon it will be second nature. First nature, maybe. To just know who's telling the truth and who's not telling the truth. Just exercise it. You have to have a lot of faith in yourself. Listen to your heart. Spend time meditating. Connect to your source. Connect to out there, not here. When you connect to something here, you're going to be led into deceit. That's another reason why I have a hard time with religion. It's not to say religion is bad. I think there's a lot there that we've been... What's the word? There's a lot there of value that maybe should have been the truth. But unfortunately, we live in a very perverse society and perverse world to where the truth is used to manipulate, deceive, and hurt people. And I'm not saying that you go to church, that's what they're doing. But I do believe we have to be careful when we put someone else between us and God. If that makes sense. Yeah. So, am I on topic? Waking up is hard to do. You have to be careful. Be skeptical. Don't be afraid to question something. If something doesn't feel right, believe your heart. Believe yourself. Spend time with yourself so that you know what yourself is. Spend time cut off from the matrix and the manipulation to know what it's really supposed to be like. Once you start understanding what it's really supposed to be like on a soul level, on a cellular level, you are less likely to go along with the deception and manipulation that's out there waiting for you. As you wake up, keep your eyes open. That's it. That's where I've come to as far as my waking up and finding my own footing in this world. I'm not perfect, but I do believe that love, the Beatles say it, all you need is love, kind of. I think when you start to understand truth and our inner core being without all the deception and nonsense on the outside, you realize love is probably the closest thing to our natural state as beings, human beings. So that's what this means. That's why I have these tattoos. Oh, you can't even see. It says just love. And I put it like that so that I can see it. I don't want to put my fist out and like, oh, I'm going to punch you. And it says just love. I didn't want that. This is for me. When I look at it like this, that's what I see. I remind myself every day. Just love. That's the one thing I can say is a true constant through all of this, no matter what. And that is it. Thank you for watching. Have a great day.